evening, Facebook Live. Apostle Terrence Lyons of Ecclesia Ministries here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Coming to you again tonight, bringing you the Bible study. Pray that your week's been blessed. I know you had some challenges. It's part of this specific time and season. As you dealt with those challenges, you started to question yourself and wonder, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this how things is going to be? Is this what's really going on? What's really happening here? And as you went through specific things and got to specific points and calmed down a little bit, kind of got your bearings about you, was able to get some redirection, you kind of landed the plane and you restructured up here. And that's a part of what this specific time and season is about. Anyway, if you've watched farmers, if you've seen kind of how things have been going on around you, you've recognized that, some have started replanting, digging up ground, putting out some different types of crops and doing different things, getting ready for the next harvest, getting ready for, the crops that come in the later part of the year. And again, the thing that I really want to make sure that everybody gets during this specific pocket of time, and I pointed out how we're in a time that the calendar hasn't done a specific function that I pointed out on last Saturday's message. And if you haven't gotten that message, you need to go back and listen to that one. I'm not going to dig too far back because I got too much right now that I got to get you ready for. But I want you to understand that as God begins to do different things, within the atmosphere, on the calendar, in your life, all of those different functions have a purpose for your new level, for your newness of self. And it's vital because I know you've probably looked at the question that I had posed for tonight, and it's like, what in the world is Apostle doing? What is Pastor doing? What kind of question is this? But if you'll hear me out, I want to make sure that you see something out of a specific passage. We're not going to start out with that passage, but I want to make sure that you see something out of a specific passage that I've known for quite some time, and finally getting a chance to kind of uncover it, because a lot of people they kind of misconstrue Peter, and they call him hothead and all of these different things. And granted, he had some stuff. Jesus had to do some collateral damage and put somebody's ear back on because of how he popped off, and how he was quick to try to do protection and all of those different things. But all in all, obviously Peter wasn't too bad of a guy, because that was exactly who God used on the day of Pentecost to preach, and 3,000 souls were added to the kingdom. So obviously must have been something pretty decent about Peter for God to use him in that fashion. So that, I'm sure, probably has you stirring. Well, why in the world would you ask a question of, was Peter a failure then? Because I promise you, if there's ever been a message that I know is about to shift you and shake you to the core, it's this Bible study. As I was going through today and, dealing with my fires and dealing with the things that are checking to see, What ideas are going to get burned up for me? What things are going to be taken out of my normal rotation? What things are going to be changed on my end? Because I have to go through the fire just like everybody else. So as I look at things and experience things, God brought back to mind of what I knew and what I've paid attention to about Peter for a long time. Because like I said, I've always loved Peter. Peter is my dude. Why? Because he was the one that would question everything, and he would do it right then. He wouldn't wait. He wouldn't go discussing it with the other disciples. And I wonder if Jesus meant that. Now, what you mean by this, Jesus? No, I ain't finna let you wash my feet, because everybody that normally washes feet, that's usually a sign of them being on the low end of the totem pole. I ain't finna let you wash my feet. Peter, if you don't let me wash your feet, I'm gonna have nothing to do with it. Well, don't just wash my feet then. Wash my head, wash my hands, wash everything. That's my man Peter. He was in the moment. He handled everything in the moment. He responded to some things in the moment, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pose the question, was he a failure? Because there's one thing, just this one thing, that kind of left undone in the scripture, and we're going to touch that, but like I said, we're not going to start out with that. I gotta get your taste buds a little salivating right there. So speaking of that, let me go ahead and hit this water, and we finna roll on. Watch this. So I want to start out in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verses 8 through 13. Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 8 through 13, says this. It says, if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priest, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire. And they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. So let me clarify before I go on. So he said, if you got a problem that was too tough for you, you couldn't figure it out, it's like, okay, I want you to go to the place that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you where to go, where you're going to get your answer, where you're going to get your judgment between you and whoever you got the problem with. Watch what happens. Verse 10 says, and thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee. So in other words, wherever the Lord chose for you to go, wherever he told them to go, when they got to the place, they couldn't get there and then be like, well, I ain't like how they said what they said, and we're gonna try something else. He said, no. You don't get to back off, because remember, you couldn't figure it out. So since you couldn't figure it out, wherever I send you, whatever they tell you, that's what you do. All right, so watch this. It says, thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee, and thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. Now watch verse 11 down through verse 13, because it says, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. whoa, hold on. Wait a minute. Time out. What you mean that man shall die? So we had this problem that we couldn't get figured out. Then you gonna tell us to go somewhere, get some instruction, and if we decide that we don't want to follow that instruction, we die? Mm-hmm. Here's why I want you to understand that. It says, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel, and all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. So what he's saying is, after they watch them who couldn't figure out their problem go to where the Lord told them to go, and then they didn't want to listen and they didn't want to follow the instructions from the place that he told them to go, they die. Now I want you to understand this, because I was on a call a couple of weeks ago and I was explaining to some people, to the people that I was talking to, what goes on during the season, why the fire is so intense, why things go on. And I made a statement to them, and I meant what I said. I said, I don't want to see anybody die in this season. Now, and they were like, whoa, what are you talking about? And I began to explain. I've watched people come to me in their most broken state. I break everything down. I speak everything that God tells me to speak to them. I show them everything that God has for me to show them. And if they don't follow the fire, I've seen the fire get hotter. Now, I've seen it. And this has happened to me with at least 4 people, 4 separate people. People that didn't even know each other. Well, a couple of them did know each other, but the others didn't. They were not of the same area. A couple of them used to go to Ecclesia, used to come to Ecclesia, and which they, ironically, they never got to worship here at the new place. But those 4 instances that I know of, one of them was a corporate. Well, actually, 2 of them was corporate. And then the other 2, again, they were people that had attended here at Ecclesia. And y'all know me. I don't pull any punches. I don't hold back on any information. I'm straightforward. I'm direct. And gave them the information, said exactly what the Lord told me to say, how he told me to say it. And they chose to ignore it. And all 4 of those people no longer walk the earth. In all intents and purposes, they were great people. And that was what helped me to understand I'm not playing when it comes to God's instructions. I don't play that game. Now, I'm telling y'all this because that is exactly what this is trying to show you in Deuteronomy 17. I want the best for everybody that I encounter. I don't care who it is. I don't care how long I've known them. I always want the best for everybody that I encounter. I will always speak truth. I will always try to give the fullness of understanding. I will try to give clarity. I will try to be as direct as I can be to the best of my ability, which I'm pretty good at that. Y'all don't hate. But anyway, but what I'm wanting you to understand is this. Don't let the storm or fire get you outside of the mechanism that's designed to get you to the destination of God's will. Don't let the storm or the fire get you outside of the mechanism that's designed to get you to the destination of God's will for you. If you look there in verse 11, it says, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left. He's saying stick directly with the instructions that were given. That's what he's saying. So what I'm wanting you to understand is don't let the storm or the fire get you outside of the mechanism that's designed to get you to the destination of God's will. Now that's setting up a premise for something that I'm going to answer that question. Was Peter a failure or not? And that's the thing that I want you to understand about this, because there in verse 11 when it says, which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left, don't decline from it, don't veer from it, don't get off, don't move, don't shift. If you know that's what God said do, and you know that's how he said do it, don't let nobody move you off of that. Don't let nobody shift you off of that. Don't let nobody manipulate you off of that. Don't let nobody hornswoggle you off of that. You stay right in line with what you know you're supposed to be doing from him. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Because I'm setting this up. We're still going to be dealing with the rest of the emotional needs, but I'm getting you ready for a new part of the series, which is your mind and your fingerprint. I've talked about fingerprint and blueprint and all of those things before, but I didn't cover the part about the mind, because this is why we're going into the emotional needs and why these emotional needs are so important. Why those needs need to be met by you before you even rely upon anybody else to try to fulfill your emotional needs. You need to know how to fulfill your own emotional needs, so that way anything that anybody else does give to your emotional needs, it's bonus points. See, that's why the confessions are so important. That's why the things that are in place that we do here at Ecclesia, and why I'm so meticulous. And there's certain things that you've watched me do if you've been either online or in an Ecclesia congregation. There are certain things that get done every single week, and we won't veer from them. We're not backing off of them, because I know what I was told. I know what was said to me. So we will do those things consistently. Now, there might be some other stuff that he adds to and gives us in messages and all of that different stuff, but there are certain things that we will not shift from. I don't care how elementary it might look to anybody else. We will not veer from those instructions, because I know who gave them to me. Now watch this, because this is going to set us up for this next part. See, watch this. Your emotional needs not being stabilized properly will cause you to jump ship on the very thing that God meant for you to stick with and stay in to get you to your destination. Your emotional needs not being met. Your emotional needs not being stabilized. And not being stabilized properly will cause you to jump ship on the very thing that God meant, watch this, for you to stick with and get to the other side with. Now that's vital. So I want you to understand this. So now I want you to go to 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 10 through 13. And I'm trying to act right. I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to be on point. But after I start dealing with this, I'm probably not fixing to act right the rest of the service. Rest of this here Bible study, you can just go right on ahead and expect, yep, I went country, I went slang, I went all down that road, because I want you to understand that I ain't finna act right. So watch this. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 10 through 13 says this. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 10 through 13 says this. Now, yeah, I know we finna get into the good stuff, because now the computer won't act up. It's all good. I got my Bible here. We're going to get to it. We ain't, First Peter chapter 4, verse 10 through 13. Watch this. It says this. It says, as every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Now watch verse 12 and 13, because this right here is where it's finna get heated. It says, beloved. So he's talking to the brethren. He's talking to us in the church. He's talking to those who function by the oracles and the kingdom way. And he's talking to us. Look at what he says. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. So notice what he's saying here. Don't think it's strange whenever the fiery trial comes to try you. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to test your work. It's supposed to see, are you genuine? It's supposed to see, are you legitimate? It's supposed to see, are you going to stick with it no matter what? That's what it's checking. That's what the fire checks. The fire checks, will it be able to withstand the fire? Because if you are only doing it to please God, to follow his instructions, the fire can't mess with you. That's why I said, during this season, some of y'all been getting rewards. In certain areas, you've been getting rewards, and in certain areas, you've been getting scorched. And that's why I try to explain to people what goes on during this time, because that'll mess with your head. Because one day, you get this reward over here, and then the next day, something blow up. It get cooked, fried, dyed, and laid to the side. It gets wiped out. And you're like, but I just had this reward over here. I just got this victory over here. And then over here, this is just shambles. Train wreck. What in the world is going on? Fire. Don't think it's strange. Because that's what it's supposed to do. Try you. This is why I'm wanting you to understand this. See, watch this. Your fingerprint has specific instructions to be followed and a specific destination to be reached. Now here's what I want you to understand your fingerprint is actually for. See, y'all remember when I came up with that word a few messages ago, that thinkerprint. See, the thinkerprint, that's your mind. That's up here. Now, like I said, I touched on it, but I didn't go into the emotional needs and all of that stuff. I want you to understand this. Your thinkerprint, watch this, is within you, and it's within your head. Your fingerprint, that, watch this, is the work that you are designed to do for others. That's what you carry out. That's why I wanted you to see this specific scripture where he's talking about, as every man hath received the gift, so minister the same one to another. So your fingerprint is you actually doing what you do the specific way, watch this, that you think it out. Okay? So you're going to encounter people that don't do stuff like you. It's okay. They're not you. And you're not them. That's why I wanted you to understand this, because he says, watch this, every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold, watch this, grace. Okay? So it's not about their actions. It's not about your work. It's about grace. So if you're not making it, whatever you do, Whatever you're gifted to do, whatever you're called to do, whatever you're functioning to do, if you're not doing it out of grace, now all of a sudden the fire can get your stuff. The fire can get your stuff because now your motive doesn't match heaven. I told y'all I wasn't going to act right. When your motive don't match heaven, now you're susceptible to the fire burning it up. Here's why I need you to get this, because this is vital. The fact that your fingerprint, the work that you're designed to do for others, the fact that it has specific instruction to be followed and a destination, specific destination to be reached, that's why you can't afford to go to the left or to the right. That's why you can't afford to not be emotionally stable. That's why you cannot afford to be jumping ship. Because you are designed and you've been given specific instruction. You've been made a specific way to do things, to carry out things that God's built you to do. So since he's built you to do those things, you have to at that point figure out, okay, how can I be just me? See me wearing shorts, again, I know it throws people off because as soon as they see shorts, oh my gosh, he's not, what is it? Okay, just listen for a while. Then you'll understand it don't matter what he got on because he finna bring this word. Yep, every single time. Because I know that when God has said it for me to be able to speak into people's lives, I will not alter to the left or to the right with what I know I'm supposed to be saying in the moment. I don't care who it is. I don't care how much money they got. I don't care what's going on. When God gives me a specific word for a specific time, you can bet your bottom dollar it's coming out at that specific time. And I won't let nothing stop it. Here's why I want you to understand this. I want you to go to Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 32. We're fixing to find out if Peter was a failure or not. Because see, some of y'all been thinking that y'all failed. Because there's some things that you didn't accomplish. You didn't do what you set out to do. And truth of the matter was, it wasn't a part of your fingerprint. Because I'm about to show you this. Boy, y'all just don't know how long this one right here been cooking and sizzling. And, you know, when I first understood